My name is Sarah Thompson. I'm 33, and I teach third graders at Cedar Lane Elementary in Seattle. Teaching has always been my calling, guiding young minds, watching their eyes light up when they finally understand something. It's the kind of job that doesn't make headlines but fills your heart. At least, that's what I always told myself. I used to believe that birthdays were simple celebrations. Cake, candles, warm hugs from the people who supposedly love you most. That was before July 14th, 2024, when everything changed. There I stood in the Grand Windsor Ballroom, my silk dress stained burgundy, watching my sister-in-law Ashley's smug expression as she pretended concern. She thought she'd finally broken me, humiliated me beyond repair in front of everyone who mattered. But what happened next left every single person in that room speechless. I should start from the beginning. 5 years ago, my brother Mark brought home this dazzling woman with perfect hair and a laugh that commanded attention. Ashley Carter was everything I wasn't. Loud, ambitious, and unapologetically self-centered. She worked in marketing but called herself an aspiring influencer, with such conviction that even my parents nodded along appreciatively. We all lived together in my parents' spacious Craftsman in Queen Anne Hill. Me, my husband James, our daughter Lily, my brother Mark, his wife Ashley, and my parents Linda and Robert. It was meant to be temporary while we all saved for our own places, but somehow, 2 years stretched into 5. From the moment Ashley moved in, the dynamic shifted. My mother, Linda, who had always been supportive of my teaching career, suddenly couldn't stop talking about Ashley's exciting life. "Did you see Ashley's latest post got over 2,000 likes?" she'd ask over breakfast, while I graded papers. "She's building such a wonderful brand." My father, Robert, mostly stayed silent during these conversations, but his proud smile whenever Ashley mentioned her growing follower count, 24K and counting, spoke volumes. I tried not to let it bother me. I had James, who loved me, and Lily, our beautiful 5-year-old who thought I hung the moon. But the constant comparisons wore me down. Every family dinner became a showcase for Ashley's latest achievement, while my stories about my students' progress were met with polite nods before someone changed the subject. "Sarah, honey," my mother would say, patting my hand with a look of pity. "Not everyone can be as exciting as Ashley. The world needs steady people too." Then came the loans. Ashley had this grand idea to launch an online boutique selling curated fashion collections. "It's going to be huge," she promised. "I just need some startup capital." James and I had been saving for a down payment on our own place, but when Ashley approached us on March 2nd, 2023, with tears in her eyes and talk of family supporting each other, we relented. We transferred $12,500 from our house fund, with Ashley promising to repay us within 6 months with interest. The boutique launched with a splashy Instagram campaign. Ashley hired photographers, models, and even a DJ for the virtual opening. Sales were decent at first, but by month 3, she was already pivoting to a new concept: luxury candles with affirmation crystals embedded inside. When the 6-month mark passed, I gently reminded her about the loan. She looked at me as if I'd suggested she sell a kidney. "Sarah, businesses take time to become profitable," she said, scrolling through her phone. "Besides, you're just going to spend it on, what, teacher supplies? Think of this as your investment in something actually exciting." That was the first time I felt the sharp sting of her contempt, but it wouldn't be the last. At Thanksgiving dinner on November 23rd, 2023, I mentioned the bullying one of my students was experiencing, hoping for some advice. "God, Sarah, you're such a drama queen," Ashley interrupted, rolling her eyes. "Kids tease each other. It's normal. Not everything needs to be turned into an after-school special." My mother nodded along. "Ashley's right, dear. You've always been so sensitive." I looked to James for support, but he was deep in conversation with my father about the Seahawks season. Lily was the only one who noticed, reaching her small hand up to pat mine. The incidents piled up, Ashley borrowing my clothes without asking and returning them stained, Ashley telling dinner guests that my baked goods were store-bought but still cute. Ashley making snide comments about my weight after I had struggled to lose the last of my pregnancy pounds. "You'll never shine like my golden girl," she'd say when no one else was around, her voice sweet as poison. "Know your place. Sarah, you're the boring sister-in-law. That's your role." I tried talking to Mark, but he'd grown distant, completely under Ashley's spell. "She doesn't mean anything by it," he'd say. "That's just her sense of humor. You're too sensitive." Even James started suggesting I was overreacting. "Maybe try to see it from her perspective," he'd say. "She's under a lot of pressure with her business." I felt myself shrinking, becoming smaller and quieter with each passing month. The teacher who commanded a classroom of energetic 8-year-olds could barely speak up at her own dinner table. Then came my 33rd birthday. My parents had reserved a private room at the Willowbrook Estate, a beautiful restaurant overlooking Lake Washington. It was the most attention they'd paid to any of my birthdays in years, and I was genuinely touched. I spent hours getting ready, putting on a simple but elegant navy dress I'd saved for months to buy. The evening started well enough. Friends from work came, bringing thoughtful gifts and genuine smiles. Lily presented me with a handmade card that made my heart swell. Even Mark seemed present for once, regaling everyone with stories from our childhood that had the table laughing. Ashley arrived late, making an entrance in a red dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. She air-kissed me and handed over a small gift bag. "Happy birthday, sis," she said loudly. "I got you something to help with those under-eye circles. Teaching must be so exhausting." I forced a smile and thanked her, placing the bag aside without opening it. The dinner progressed, and as dessert was served, a beautiful cake my mother had specially ordered, Ashley stood up, glass in hand. "I'd like to make a toast," she announced. The room quieted. "To Sarah, who's always been present." A few uncomfortable laughs. "No, really. We're all so proud of how you've stuck with teaching all these years, even when more exciting opportunities must have come your way." I felt my cheeks burning but maintained my smile. "And to think, you're 33 now, still living with your parents, still driving that old Volvo, still wearing—" She gestured vaguely at my dress. "Well, we can't all be fashion-forward, can we?" The room had grown uncomfortably silent. I saw my friend Emma, a family lawyer who'd known me since college, narrowing her eyes at Ashley. "Anyway," Ashley continued, swirling her wine glass dramatically, "here's to many more years of stability." She took a step forward, stumbling slightly as if she'd had too much to drink. Though I'd been watching her all night and knew she was perfectly sober, what happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Ashley staggered, her wine glass tilting precariously. The deep red liquid splashed forward, landing squarely on my mother's cream-colored dress, a vintage piece adorned with pearls that had been her own mother's. "Oh my God!" Ashley exclaimed, hand covering her mouth in feigned shock. "I'm so clumsy! Happy birthday! Mom!" She laughed, using the nickname she'd given my mother early on, a small way of claiming her as her own. The room gasped. My mother looked down at her ruined dress, her face crumpling. My father immediately began dabbing at it with his napkin, murmuring reassurances. It's fine," my mother said, but her voice wavered. Those pearls had been sewn on by hand, irreplaceable. I sat frozen, watching Ashley's performance of remorse, seeing through it completely. This wasn't an accident. This was a calculated move to ruin not just my birthday but a precious family heirloom. Emma rose from her seat, rushing to my mother's side with club soda and napkins. As she passed Ashley, I heard her mutter, "That was deliberate, and we both know it." Ashley's smile flickered but returned full force. "Accidents happen, Emma. Don't be so dramatic. Like sister, like friend, I guess." The evening disintegrated after that. My mother left to change, my father accompanying her. Guests made awkward excuses and departed early. Mark pulled Ashley aside, but whatever conversation they had ended with her laughing and him looking defeated, I sat alone at the head table, birthday cake barely touched, gifts piled untouched beside me. James came over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go home," he said softly. The drive home was silent. Lily had fallen asleep in the back seat, and James kept his eyes fixed on the road. My hands trembled around the steering wheel as I drove, thoughts racing. When we arrived home, I couldn't go inside. I couldn't face Ashley's smug expression or my mother's forced forgiveness. "Take Lily in," I told James. "I need some air." I drove to Cary Park, parked my Volvo, and looked out at the Seattle skyline glittering against the night sky. Tears streamed down my face as I finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of years of humiliation and dismissal. I called Ashley's number, surprising myself with my own boldness. "Sarah?" she answered, clearly annoyed. "What do you want? It's late." "Ashley, please apologize," I said, my voice breaking. "Not to me, to my mother. That dress meant everything to her." She laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "It was an accident. Sarah, God, you're being pathetic. This is why everyone thinks you're boring. You know, you make mountains out of molehills." "It wasn't an accident. We both know that." "Prove it," she challenged. "Oh, wait, you can't, because no one would believe you over me anyway. Your own mother takes my side every time. Have you noticed? Your brother barely remembers you exist. Even your husband thinks you're overreacting half the time." Her words cut deep because they contained kernels of truth. "Face it, Sarah, you're nothing, a nobody teacher with a nobody life. I'm doing you a favor by making your family interesting." She hung up. I sat in my car, breath coming in gasps, feeling as though I might shatter into 1,000 pieces. But something else was happening too. Beyond the pain, beyond the humiliation. A strange calm began to settle over me, a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I realized pleading would never work. I needed a plan. What Ashley didn't know, what no one in my family knew, was that I had a secret that had been growing for over a year and a half. In January 2023, feeling creatively stifled and financially dependent, I had started a small side business. I called it Pine and Petal Press, a line of greeting cards featuring my own watercolor illustrations and calligraphy. It began as a hobby, something to do after Lily went to bed and James was absorbed in his video games. I opened an Etsy shop, expecting to sell a few cards here and there to friends. But something unexpected happened. People loved them. My nature-inspired designs and heartfelt messages resonated with customers looking for authenticity in an increasingly digital world. Orders trickled in, then poured. By month 3, I was struggling to keep up with demand. I partnered with a local printer to handle larger orders. I expanded from cards to prints, then to calendars and journals. A stationery chain in Portland discovered my work and placed a wholesale order, then another in San Francisco, then New York. I kept it quiet, partly because I wasn't sure it would last, partly because I'd grown accustomed to hiding my achievements in Ashley's shadow. I used a P.O. box for business mail. I converted the garden shed into a studio, telling everyone I was just organizing some school supplies. I worked during my lunch breaks at school, after Lily's bedtime, and in the early morning hours before anyone else was awake. By June 2024, Pine and Petal Press had generated over $1.8 million in revenue. I had 5 employees working remotely, a warehouse in Tacoma handling fulfillment, and licensing deals with 3 major retailers. There was more. With my growing capital, I had become a silent investor in a trendy coffee shop in downtown Seattle called Cascade Cafe. The owner, Layla Reyes, was a former student's mother who had a dream but needed financial backing. I provided it, along with design services for their branding. The cafe had become a local hotspot, with lines around the block on weekend mornings. All of this I had kept completely hidden from my family. I had a separate bank account. I had a lawyer, not Emma, but someone she had recommended, handling my business affairs. I had a financial advisor helping me invest wisely. I had been biding my time, waiting for the right moment to move out and establish my independence. But now, sitting in my car after Ashley's latest cruelty, I realized I'd been thinking too small. The next morning, I called in sick to school, something I never did, and drove to meet with my business lawyer at Morrison & Associates. I need to protect myself and my assets, I told Jefferson Morrison, sliding a folder across his desk, and I need to plan a strategic revelation. He raised an eyebrow, reviewing the documents I'd brought, screenshots of Ashley's mocking text messages, bank statements proving the unpaid loan, my company's financial records. "Ms. Thompson, you've built something remarkable here," he said, looking impressed. "May I ask why you've kept it secret?" I hesitated, then explained the family dynamic, Ashley's dominance, my parents' favoritism. He listened without judgment, taking notes. "And now you want to, what exactly?" "I want to reveal everything, but in a way that can't be dismissed or minimized. I want witnesses. I want irrefutable evidence. I want—" "Justice," he supplied. I nodded, and I want Ashley to face consequences for once in her life. Over the next month, we prepared meticulously. I gathered more evidence. Recordings of Ashley's verbal abuse when she thought no one was listening. Documentation of other loans she'd taken from family members and never repaid. Proof that her boutique had failed, not because of market conditions, but because she'd spent the investment money on personal expenses. I contacted Emma, swearing her to secrecy before revealing my plans. As both a family friend and a lawyer, she provided invaluable guidance, helping me navigate the delicate ethical considerations while supporting my need to end the exploitation. I secured statements from my employees attesting to my business success. I prepared financial records verified by an independent auditor. I had Layla ready to confirm my role in Cascade Cafe's success. The principal at my school, Dr. Olivia Torres, agreed to provide a letter describing my value as an educator, countering Ashley's dismissive characterization of my career. Most importantly, I chose the perfect moment for the revelation, my mother's 60th birthday luncheon, scheduled for September 10th at the Belmont Plaza. Ashley had insisted on organizing it, of course, turning what should have been an intimate family celebration into a networking opportunity for herself. She'd invited everyone who mattered to her, social media contacts, potential business partners, the works. It was the ideal stage. The day arrived. I dressed with care in a custom emerald dress I'd had made by a designer friend, worth $4,200 but given to me at cost in exchange for creating the stationery for her upcoming wedding. I wore my grandmother's emerald earrings, which my mother had given to me years ago before Ashley entered our lives. James looked at me with surprise as I emerged from our bedroom. "Wow," he said softly. "You look different." "Different good?" I asked, suddenly uncertain. He stepped closer, really seeing me perhaps for the first time in months. "Different powerful," he said. "What's going on? Sarah?" I took a deep breath. "I've been keeping some things from you, from everyone, and today, I'm going to reveal it all." His eyes widened as I explained, not everything, but enough for him to understand that our financial situation was not what he believed, that I had built something substantial while everyone dismissed me. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, hurt evident in his voice. "Because at first it was just a hobby, and then, I don't know, you seemed so captivated by Ashley's world, by her version of success. I wasn't sure you'd value what I was building." He flinched at the truth of it. "I've been a terrible husband, haven't I?" I touched his cheek gently. "We've all been caught in Ashley's orbit, but that ends today." We arrived at the Belmont Plaza's Crystal Ballroom at exactly 2:15 p.m. The room was already filled with guests, my parents' actual friends mixed with Ashley's curated collection of influencers and scene makers. My mother sat at the head table, wearing a new dress Ashley had selected, looking both regal and uncomfortable. Ashley was working the room, floating from group to group in a designer gown, smartphone in hand as she documented every moment for her followers. She faltered briefly when she saw me, eyes widening at my unexpected elegance, but quickly recovered with a tight smile. Sarah, you look expensive. Did you rent that? Hello, Ashley, I said calmly. No, I didn't rent it. Happy birthday. Mom, I called over to my mother, who beamed at me. The luncheon proceeded according to Ashley's careful planning. There were speeches, mostly about how Ashley had revitalized our family with her energy and vision. There were elaborately plated courses that looked better than they tasted. There was a professionally edited video montage of my mother's life that somehow featured Ashley in a third of the shots, despite her only being in our lives for 5 years. Finally, it was time for gifts. Ashley had arranged for everyone to present theirs in a specific order, saving her own for last, a typical power move to ensure she would upstage everyone else. When my turn came, I approached the small stage that had been set up at the front of the room. Mom, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart, I wanted to give you something special for your 60th. I nodded to James, who pressed a button on his phone. The lights dimmed slightly, and the large screen behind me, which had been showing the professional photos Ashley had commissioned, changed to display a simple logo, Pine and Petal Press. First, I want to tell you about a company I founded in January 2023, I continued, hearing murmurs of confusion ripple through the crowd. It started as a small greeting card business, but it's grown into something much more. The screen changed to show a montage of my products, my office space, articles from stationery industry publications praising my work. I saw my mother's eyes widen, my father leaning forward in his seat. Mark looked confused. Ashley's face had gone rigid. Pine and Petal Press now employs 27 people. We have distribution in 14 countries. Our revenue last year was $1.8 million. The room erupted in surprised exclamations. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. I'm also a silent partner in Cascade Cafe downtown, which some of you may have visited. More murmurs as people recognize the popular spot. I've kept this private for various reasons, but today, I wanted to share my success with you, Mom, because you always taught me the value of hard work and perseverance, even when others didn't see my worth. I glanced meaningfully at Ashley, whose face had drained of color. My gift to you is this. I've established the Linda Thompson Scholarship Fund with an initial endowment of $250,000. It will provide educational opportunities for young women pursuing careers in teaching, a profession that some people might dismiss as unexciting, but which shapes the future in profound ways. Tears welled in my mother's eyes. My father was staring at me with a mixture of shock and dawning pride. But I wasn't finished. There's one more thing I need to address today. I nodded to James again, and the screen changed to display a bank statement. On March 2nd, 2023, I loaned Ashley $1,200 to launch her boutique, with a written agreement that it would be repaid within 6 months. The room went utterly still. Ashley's face contorted with rage and panic. That loan has not been repaid, despite numerous reminders. In fact, Ashley has explicitly stated that she has no intention of repaying it. The screen changed again, showing text messages where Ashley had dismissed my requests for repayment with increasingly insulting language. This is just one example of a pattern of behavior that has gone unchecked for too long. I played a brief audio recording, Ashley's voice, crystal clear, saying, "You'll never shine like my golden girl. Know your place. Sarah, you're the boring sister-in-law. That's your role." I watched my mother's face crumple as she recognized the cruelty in Ashley's tone, the deliberate demeaning of her own daughter. I've tolerated this treatment out of love for my family. I've stayed silent when Ashley deliberately ruined Mom's heirloom dress at my birthday. I've looked the other way when she's taken credit for my ideas, borrowed without asking, and manipulated those I love against me. I looked directly at Ashley now, whose face had gone from white to red, her jaw clenched in fury. But I will not remain silent anymore, and I will not allow this abuse to continue. I gestured to Emma, who stood up from her table, legal folder in hand. My lawyer has prepared documents demanding repayment of the loan with interest, as well as compensation for the damaged heirloom dress. She's prepared to file these in court today if necessary. Ashley finally found her voice. "This is fake!" she shrieked, looking frantically around the room for allies. "She's making this all up because she's jealous of me. That recording is doctored." My mother stood slowly, her eyes never leaving Ashley's face. "Is it, Ashley? Is it really fake?" "Linda, please," Ashley said, switching tactics, her voice suddenly sweet. "You know how Sarah has always exaggerated things. She's just trying to embarrass me in front of everyone." My father rose to stand beside my mother. "Sarah," he said, his voice uncharacteristically firm, "let's talk privately. This is a family matter." For a moment, I thought he was going to shut me down as he'd done so many times before, but then he continued. "Ashley, you will come with us as well. Mark, you too." Emma stepped forward. "I have the signed promissory note right here, Mr. Thompson, and bank records confirming the transfer. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a clear case of fraud and emotional abuse." The room had gone completely silent, every guest frozen in fascination at the family drama unfolding before them. Ashley's carefully curated image was crumbling in real time, and her social media followers were getting a front row seat as several of her influencer friends surreptitiously recorded the scene on their phones. My parents, Mark, Ashley, and I moved to a private room adjacent to the ballroom. Emma came with us, legal documents in hand. James followed silently, his presence a steady support behind me. Once the door closed, Ashley dropped all pretense. "You think you're so clever, don't you?" she hissed at me. "Waiting until you had a captive audience to ambush me. What kind of sister does that?" "I'm not your sister," I replied calmly. "I'm your victim, or at least, I was." My mother sank into a chair, looking shattered. "Ashley, did you really say those things to Sarah? Did you really not intend to repay that loan?" Ashley rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, please, Linda, everyone exaggerates in the heat of the moment, and business investments sometimes don't pay off. That's just how it works." "That wasn't an investment," Emma interjected coolly. "It was a loan with clear repayment terms that you agreed to in writing." My father, usually so conflict-averse, surprised me by speaking directly to Ashley. "We welcomed you into our family, into our home. We defended you when others questioned your intentions. We supported your business ventures, your social media career, everything you wanted to do. And I brought life into this boring family," Ashley shot back. "I gave you connections, excitement, status. Before me, what were you? Just another middle-class family with nothing interesting to show for yourselves." Mark finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "That's not true, Ash, and I think deep down, you know it." She whirled on him. "Don't you dare take her side. Mark, after everything I've done for you?" "What exactly have you done for me?" he asked, and I saw something shift in his eyes, as if he were truly seeing her for the first time. "Besides isolate me from my sister? Besides spend our savings on your failed businesses? Besides make me complicit in the mistreatment of my own family?" Ashley's strategy changed instantly, tears welling in her eyes as she reached for Mark's hand. "Baby, you know I love you. You know everything I do is for us, for our future. Sarah's just jealous because her marriage is falling apart, because she's stuck in a dead-end job." "My marriage is not falling apart," I interrupted, looking at James, who moved to stand beside me. "And my job brings me joy and purpose every single day, but more importantly, I've built a successful business that actually helps people, creates beautiful things, and operates with integrity, something your ventures have consistently failed to do." Emma laid out the legal documents on a side table. "Here's what's going to happen. Ashley, you're going to sign these papers agreeing to repay the $1,200 loan plus $1,200 in interest and legal fees. You're going to issue a public apology for the statements you've made about Sarah, and you're going to seek therapy for your narcissistic tendencies." "Or what?" Ashley challenged, though I could see the fear behind her bravado. "Or we'll take this to court," Emma said simply. "Every text, every recording, every witness statement. Your social media career won't survive it." Ashley looked from face to face, searching for an ally and finding none. Even Mark had stepped back. His expression hardened with resolution. My mother stood up, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in years. "Ashley, I want you out of our house by the end of the week." "What?" Ashley gasped. "You heard me. I've been blind to how you've treated my daughter, how you've manipulated this family. That ends today." "But Mom," Ashley started, using the nickname that had once delighted my mother. "I am not your mother," Linda said firmly. "I never was. I was just another conquest for you, another person to control. Sign the papers, pack your things, and leave our family alone." My father nodded in agreement, placing his hand on my mother's shoulder in solidarity. Ashley looked at Mark, her last hope. "Are you going to let them do this to me? To us?" Mark took a deep breath. "I think we need some time apart. Ash, I'll be staying with a friend for a while." The fight went out of her all at once. She snatched the pen Emma offered and signed the documents with a vicious scrawl, then flung it across the room. "Fine, have your pathetic family back. I was too good for all of you anyway." She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The room fell silent. Then, to my astonishment, my mother crossed to me and enveloped me in a tight hug. "Sarah, my brilliant, patient daughter, can you ever forgive me for not seeing, for not protecting you?" I hugged her back, tears flowing freely now. "There's nothing to forgive. Mom, she fooled all of us." "Not all of us," Emma interjected with a small smile. "Some of us saw through her from day one." We returned to the ballroom, where curious guests were still waiting. My mother, composed once more, announced that the party would continue, though Ashley had been called away on an urgent matter. As word spread through whispers and texts, I saw the influencers who had been Ashley's friends checking their phones, exchanging glances, and quietly slipping away. Her carefully constructed social circle was already distancing itself from her downfall. Later that evening, back at my parents' house, we sat in the living room processing the day's events. Mark had gone to stay with a college friend, needing space to think. Ashley had returned briefly to pack an overnight bag, refusing to speak to anyone. "What will you do now, Sarah?" my father asked, his voice gentle. "With your business. I mean, it's incredible what you've built." I looked at James, who nodded encouragingly. "I've been thinking about opening a physical store, somewhere that could be both a retail space and a studio, maybe with workshops for people who want to learn calligraphy or watercolor. You could use the money from Ashley's repayment as part of your startup costs," my mother suggested, and I smiled at this tangible evidence of her support. "Actually, I've been looking at spaces in Boston," I said carefully. "Lily will be starting kindergarten next year, and there's an excellent school near the location I'm considering." My parents' faces fell slightly, but they nodded in understanding. "Boston is a wonderful city," my mother said, though her voice wavered. "We'll miss you terribly, but we understand why you need a fresh start." "And we'll visit often," my father added. "Maybe even look at property nearby for retirement." James squeezed my hand. "I've already reached out to some graphic design firms in Boston. There's a promising lead for a creative director position at a publishing house." The conversation continued late into the night, all of us speaking more honestly than we had in years. My mother revealed how Ashley had subtly driven wedges between us, making small comments that fed into her insecurities about my life choices. My father admitted he'd gone along to keep the peace, always assuming the tension would resolve itself. "Never again," he promised, his eyes serious. "From now on, this family stands together." Over the following weeks, the consequences of that day rippled outward. Ashley's social media following plummeted after several attendees posted thinly veiled references to the confrontation. She was forced to make a public apology video as part of our legal settlement, which further damaged her influencer brand. Mark moved out of my parents' house, renting a small apartment where he could think about what he wanted without Ashley's influence. He and I began rebuilding our relationship, meeting for coffee weekly, remembering who we had been to each other before Ashley came between us. My parents sold their house, too big now with everyone leaving, and bought a cozy bungalow, free from the memories of those painful years. They came to visit the Boston spaces I was considering, offering genuine input and support. By early December, everything was in motion. Pine and Petal Press had a beautiful new headquarters in a converted warehouse in Cambridge. Lily was enrolled in a progressive kindergarten for the following fall. James had accepted the publishing position, excited about this new chapter. As for Ashley, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she was working as a barista at the Blue Oak Bistro, her social media presence all but abandoned. The boutique had closed officially. Her influencer partnerships dried up. I didn't feel the satisfaction I had expected at her downfall. Instead, I felt freedom. From her judgments, from the smallness she had tried to impose on me, from the constant need to dim my own light. In late March, just before our move, I received an unexpected visitor. Mark stood on my doorstep, looking nervous but determined. "I've filed for divorce," he said without preamble. "It was finalized yesterday." I hugged him tightly. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "Better than I've been in years. Actually, I've started seeing a therapist to understand why I let her control me like that, why I turned against my own sister." "We all made mistakes," I said gently, "but we're fixing them now." He handed me a small package. "I found this in Ashley's things when she was moving out. I think it belongs to you." Inside was my grandmother's recipe book, which had disappeared years ago. Ashley had taken it, knowing its sentimental value to me. "There's more," Mark said. "I've been going through old emails, and I found evidence that she was systematically isolating me from everyone I cared about. She even faked messages from old friends, making me think they didn't want to see me anymore." I wasn't surprised, but the confirmation of her deliberate cruelty still stung. "What will you do now?" I asked. He smiled, a genuine smile that reminded me of the brother I'd grown up with. "I'm thinking of moving to Boston, too. Actually, if that wouldn't be weird?" "It wouldn't be weird at all," I assured him. "We've lost enough family time already." On our last night in Seattle, I sat on the porch of my parents' new home, looking at the stars. My mother joined me, wrapping a blanket around both our shoulders like she used to do when I was small. "I keep thinking about all the times I should have seen what was happening," she said softly. "All the times I should have stood up for you." "Mom, stop." Ashley was manipulative in ways we couldn't have imagined. She exploited our trust, our love for each other. "Still," she insisted, "a mother should know when her child is hurting." I leaned against her shoulder. "What matters is that you know now, and that we're moving forward together." She kissed the top of my head. "My brilliant daughter, building an empire while we all underestimated you." "Not an empire," I corrected her. "Just a life on my own terms." As I drove away from Seattle the following week, Lily chattering excitedly in the back seat about our new adventure, James beside me navigating, I felt a profound sense of peace, the weight of Ashley's cruelty, of my family's blindness, of my own silence, all of it lifted with each mile that passed. I had learned that respect isn't given by blood. It's earned through actions, through integrity, through standing up for yourself even when it's difficult. And I had learned that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't public humiliation or financial retribution, though Ashley had certainly experienced both. The most powerful revenge is refusing to be diminished, refusing to accept the small box someone else tries to place you in. It's building your own success, on your own terms, with your own vision. It's living well, surrounded by people who truly see and value you. As we crossed the state line, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Seattle was no longer visible, but its lessons would stay with me always. Sometimes the quietest revenge is simply becoming exactly who you were always meant to be.